a survival guide for artists in the gaming industry. So a little bit about me. As Tom said, I was an artist, or I studied art at the Games Academy in 2016 to 2018. My pronouns are she, her. I work now as a 3D artist, character artist at Tecta Games in Copenhagen, Denmark, where I live with my 500 plants and my cat. Obviously, I love video games. And this talk is a little bit about what I learned from my time being unemployed after Games Academy and now making it to the job that I really wanted to do. So welcome. Here are some things that I worked on. This is all in the style of the game that I'm working on, Pain Flow. I am extremely proud of what I did there. I worked on remodels for the main characters. I did some small animations here and there, blend shapes, characters. That's what I did in the last year, and I enjoyed quite a lot. So what are we going to talk about? I have this talk section in 3 parts. The first part is when you get hired, or before you get hired, what you can expect and how to kind of survive that time in your life. When you get hired, some things to keep in mind, and of course, how it is like to work at a company. So before you get hired, portfolio and survival tips from me. Remember that you always create your portfolio for studios, show a variety of skills, make an elaborate project instead of little small sculpts or sketches. I have a example for you, which is my portfolio piece that I consider pretty successful. I made a character for the company Supercell for their game Brawl Stars. And what I wanted to show is that I can create a character from scratch. I can rig it, I can make basic animations, and I can show that I understand how props work. So I just took the character, I actually set it into a scene that it looks real. I made an icon alongside with the other characters to kind of blend it in. I showed the whole process of how I went from concept to actually finished T-pose model. As you can see, I didn't even, I started with a completely different concept with different hair and changed a few things along the way, which is totally fine. You can change your ideas along the way. It is your portfolio project, so you can do whatever you want with it, but it's good that you show the skills that you have. I showed the sculpt, obviously, the high poly, the rigging that I did, and I really encourage everyone to learn, the 3D artists at least, to learn rigging, at least basic rigging, so you can pose your characters, because it just looks better when you have a posed character in your portfolio instead of only T-poses. It just has a nice vibe to it. And people like to see the kind of feeling that they should get from a character. I made basic animations with, you don't have to do that, but I also encourage you to at least make a basic idle for your character. So, I don't know, it feels more alive and people are more intrigued to be wanting to learn more about your character. And then in the end, obviously, I made a thumbnail for the character. So that is my portfolio project that actually landed me the job at Tecta Game now. And that's why I say I think it's successful, because that was actually the stepping stone for me. So some more survival tips. You're fresh out of Games Academy. You have all these ideas, all these things that you want to do, that you want to create your portfolio, yada, yada, yada. The first thing that I would like to recommend you is to set your expectations. Not everyone after the Games Academy is getting hired like this. Not everyone is even getting an internship unless they changed the rules or something. But when I was there, not everyone had a job guaranteed. And it is frustrating and it can really get to you. So always have a plan B, have a plan C, and even have a plan D. If things don't work out as you think, you will probably make so many applications, send out so many of those cover letters and adjust every one of those. But you may or may not have to work on the side to keep working on your portfolio and keep working on the stuff that you have to create, which is fine. You just have to be aware that this can happen and it's not great, but you can do it. I did it. We're here. I actually was 2 times where I almost quit the games industry completely because I thought I will never get a job. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I talked with people and they said, it looks great, but sometimes companies just are not looking for you or for the skill sets that you have. So you will have to kind of keep going and you have to find something else in the meantime. That doesn't mean that you will never get there. But if you are able to, success will eventually come to you, which sucks, but it's the way it is. When you work on your portfolio, always seek feedback, ask your peers from the Games Academy, ask around online. I send my stuff on Polycount sometimes. People online are super helpful. They really want you to succeed. And it's always really nice to see what other people have to say about the stuff that you're making. Plus, you have so many creative heads at Games Academy right now. And I'm sure everyone is happy to help you a little bit. What I said earlier with set expectations, also know your worth. Don't bring yourself down just because it doesn't work right away. And trust me, I worked as a customer service representative, which is the worst job that you don't want to do. But as long as you keep in mind that you actually are at Games Academy, you graduated, you did a good job, you are where you are, just keep that in mind and try to don't beat yourself up about not getting a job. It's tough and it's extremely tough to get into the gaming industry. Once you're there, once you have your first job, it gets easier. But this part of your career where you try and get into the gaming industry is the hardest part. So don't beat yourself up. It's gonna be fine. With that being said, try and stay creative. Try and do other things too, like not only getting tunnel vision on your portfolio. Try to, find some hobbies, go out, meet with friends. Don't burn yourself out before you even started having a career. Because if you only work on your portfolio and you kind of get obsessed with it, you will probably not gonna be happy, and you get into this spiral of just, I'm working so much on it, why doesn't this get better, what am I doing wrong? Truth is, you're probably overthinking it, and you're probably making things work worse by just being hyper focused on these things. Yeah, those are my little tips before you get a job. You got hired, yay, this is awesome. You feel great. You just got through your interview. They call you back and they're like, yeah, we kind of liked you. Cool. You maybe don't get hired as the position that you have in mind when you're at Games Academy, but you have a job in the gaming industry, which is great. So things to keep in mind when you get hired in a company. Sometimes you will have to move to a different city, to a different country, even sometimes to a different continent. You have to keep in mind that the living costs and the median income salary in a different city or country is different than what you have in Germany. So you always want to check what are the living costs and what are the median salaries you can expect for your work, because Denmark, Switzerland is not the same as Italy or Greece, where the income varies a lot. So you want to check on that so you can make a decent living to, go out from time to time, go to the movies, see Doctor Strange. I don't know. You want to have like a little bit of cost for yourself, or like money for yourself, and not only, pay so you get by. Then when you have your interview, your starting interview, always discuss your opportunities within the company. Discuss how you can get to this position that you ultimately want. So when I started at Tactile Games, I didn't get hired as a character artist. I got hired as a cinematic artist, which is something completely different and also not entirely what I wanted to do. But I sat down with the people and were like, okay, I actually want to become this in the future. And when the company knows that you actually aspire to be more than what you are right now, they can help you along the way. And sometimes they even give you tools to get better at 3D or 2D. It really depends on how the support system in your company is structured, but you will have to ask for it. They will not just give it to you. Which also brings me to salary. Set a clear timeline for salary renegotiations. You want to increasingly get more money the more you work. That is just how things are. And I hope that you're aware of that. There's inflation. You want your money go up with that, and maybe even go more because you work harder or work more or have more responsibility in your company. So I have my salary renegotiations once a year, where we sit down and be like, okay, this is how much more we can pay you now. And it's super important to set that right away and make it clear, so the company doesn't take advantage of you, because they will if you don't talk about this. So now you finally worked a little bit at your company. You are happy, hopefully, but here are some do's and don'ts when you work for a company. And that counts for remote and office work. Here's the thing. I promise you one thing. It is absolutely possible to have a work-life balance as an artist in a gaming company. Trust me, it works. It exists. You can have a life and you can work and you have a balance there. You shouldn't have to crunch. If you find yourself in a situation where you have to crunch, that is usually due to lack of management or organization, and you will have to talk with your producer or manager or lead about it. Because if you have a good planning situation, this shouldn't happen. You should have enough time for your tasks. If you really have to crunch, because by the end of the month or by the end of the week, you have to have this character ready, which just happened to me, actually. We just started a new season and we needed to pump out a bunch of characters, and I needed to stay longer because Unity and Maya doing the things they do, we had to work longer. But what I did, and what I always do in these situations, is that I go to my lead, or in your case, your producer or manager, and try and find a compromise. Hey, I worked longer today on Monday. Can I leave earlier? Can I come in later? Most of the times they should, if you have a good relationship with your lead, they will say, yeah, sure. You have your own time planning in check, because it's so important to not overwork yourself and don't go crazy about all these things, because you will just burn yourself out like this. So try and find a compromise. Today you work longer, but on Monday you leave earlier, something like that. For voluntarily crunching. And I know you're at Games Academy. I know some of you are sleeping in the office, probably on these beautiful couches. That is fine. It's the Games Academy. It is something completely different when you're working at a company. Voluntarily crunching is not helping anybody. It's not helping you, it's not helping your peers, and it's not helping your managers. You actually, when I started at my work at Tactile Games, I was so focused on doing a great job and having this best performance. So I stayed longer, and I thought to myself, yes, I really want to bring the best out of these scenes, whatever. It didn't really work, and it actually made the scenes worse because I didn't have enough energy to bring the 8 hours that I should work, because I stayed for 10 or 12 hours to just make it look better. And in the end, it didn't, because you just burn yourself out. It doesn't work, is what I'm trying to say. Also, your manager thinks you work 8 hours and then sees what you've done in those 10 or 12 hours, and they will think, oh, cool, we can give them more work. And your coworkers will hate you for that, because it's expected from everybody. And everybody's like, why are you not putting all of this work in? So just keep in mind that you want to have a balance there as well. You don't deserve to crunch. No one does. You deserve to live your life. Go outside, take a break. As I said, organization and management is key. You will have to learn to organize yourself, learn how much time you will need for certain processes. Best thing is to track your times. Say, okay, I know I will start with my texturing work now, or I will start with my layout now for my illustration. How much time will I need? And then you get a feeling of how long it will actually take you. And you can communicate that with your lead. And with your lead, you can then avoid crunch. Haha, it all comes together. Early on, try and track your times, get a feeling how much each process takes. Set yourself deadlines, even for like your personal projects, because then you actually get to finish stuff. Because a painting or a 3D model, things are never finished. You will always find something that you can tweak or do more. But if you say, okay, by the end of the month, I have my high poly ready, and then I move on, you will create a little bit of pressure for yourself, but also, which is good pressure. Pressure is not always bad, but you will find a way on, you get a feeling in how you work and how you eventually end up working with others, which is super important. Because in a company, you have to work with others, and they need to rely on you and understand how much time you are going to take for something. And always, 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 whatever you do, plan with a buffer. Because as I said, Unity, Maya, Photoshop, all of these programs, they're a little bit fragile sometimes. And you don't want to stress themselves out. So if you have a buffer and you have a little bit more time, that is great. More time for polishing. Lastly, please take care of your body. I know people say your body is your temple, but it's true, because once you deal with carpal tunnel syndrome or crackling knees that hurt all the time, it sucks. Try and take breaks, regular breaks, where you stand up, where you stretch a little bit. I personally use a break timer app. It's called breaktimer.app, where you see here a little window popping up that tells you for 10 minutes, yo, how about stretching? How about eating? It really helps to keeps you focused, but also like activates your body, so you don't end up, by the end of the day, everything is hurting. And it's fine to just stand up and stretch. People in my office do it all the time. I do it all the time. So when you see me doing the head rolls or whatever, it's because we all are hurting and we need to take care of our bodies. You can find your own way. I take personally 45 minutes of focus and then a 5-minute break. That varies. I have to because of my back, but it varies from person to person. Some people take 90 minutes focus time and then a 10-minute break. So just find your way, but just make sure to take your breaks. Your body will thank you.